Welcome to Fighting Fraud with AARP Connecticut, a bi-monthly program in which we discuss a different fraud or scam and how you can protect yourself and your loved ones from becoming victims. My name is Kelly Leffler, and I am the Associate State Director of Outreach for AARP Connecticut. We are joined by Jackie Crenshaw, and we'll be focusing on romance and cryptocurrency scams. We're so grateful to have Jackie with us to share her story here.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.
Jackie's world was forever changed when she realized that she had become the victim of a romance and cryptocurrency scam. And as a result, she has made it her mission to share her story in the hopes of protecting others from what she has endured and to empower other victims to come forward with their own stories. Jackie, I want to start right at the beginning because I think it can be difficult for people to truly understand how a scam like this takes place. So if you wouldn't mind just starting by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you came in contact with the scammer.
Sure. I'm 60 years old, educated. I've worked in radiology for 40 years. I'm actually in breast imaging, so I've been a pillar in my community for a long time, just assisting women, getting them the help they need. So, average person, I didn't think I was lonely or anything like that, but I hadn't dated in a while. And a friend of mine suggested a website for dating called BLK, which I had never been on a dating website before. So I did go on. She helped me set up a profile because I really didn't even have social media. I think after a day or two, I started to get hits, as they call them, people reaching out to you. And there's one particular person, at least a picture, very handsome guy, beautiful eyes. And I commented on his eyes, and he probably reached back out to me in a day or two. So we began talking, communicating on the platform, which one of the things that I will warn people about is staying on the platform and how important it is to remain on there if you can't identify or know exactly who you're talking to. So after a couple of weeks, we get off the platform and we exchange information. And this person did what is a term called love bombing, where they're just in love with you in the beginning, which I kind of blew off. I tried to do reverse image with the name that was given to me. I really didn't see anything, and we kind of laughed about it, myself and my girlfriend. But as the weeks got more and more, we started talking about a future together. And one of the other things that might be a little odd for some is, as we were planning this future together, I'm sent a check for $100,000. Well, I didn't think it was real. And my girlfriend also said, well, you have to go to the police. And because it had someone's name on it from Florida. So I did go to the police, and I told them I had this check. I think it might be fraud. And another thing we can get into is with Connecticut, we're working on legislation to educate police departments and different things, because this is started in June or May of 2023, and it's just been 40% increase since then. But a lot of departments are not educated on what to do with these things. So I got blown off. They just said, oh, we'll see if it clears. But I also reached out to the bank, the institution that issued the check, and they too said, oh, see if it clears. Well, guess what? It did clear. It was a real check that was sent to me from someone else, which again, later on, a year later, I find out with some great state police that I'm working with that it was someone else who was getting scammed. So this is an international operation that was going on. But going back to me, probably the one biggest red flag was not seeing who this person really was. But like I said, they love bombed me, sent me gifts, trinkets, all kinds of things. All I had to do was say if I was hungry, or if he asked me if I was hungry, I had food delivered at my door. So you think, what kind of person would that be that really just every whim or every time they could get at your heartstrings and get your guard down? That's what happened to me.
You said something that I think is really poignant, that if you were hungry and you mentioned it to this person, that food would show up at your door.
Yes.
And I think that's really unique and shows the multi layers to a fraud like this, because I think when you think about a romance scam, you think it's very much a give and take.
Right.
that it's just a one direction exchange that's happening. And clearly this person took the time to gain your trust and also showered you with gifts.
Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't a short period of time. It was
Right.
over almost a year and a half. So it's just a slow burn of getting me to trust them, and as well as him trusting me because he sent the check, which eventually it did clear. But after time depositing it, I was coaxed into investing it again. So forward a little bit more, the conversation of cryptocurrency started coming up. And this person, all under false pretenses, was a widower, had two small boys, and we were just over COVID. So he said he spent a lot of time looking up cryptocurrencies and how it works, and even sent me a couple of screenshots of how much profit he was making. So again, it's all of the love bombing and future planning. He even looked up and researched properties in Connecticut, like huge properties that, oh yeah, we were going to buy and move and live there. And more, I'm letting my guard down. And so I did start to invest in crypto. At that point, I asked around if people knew about it. And it was not that it was new, but it'll be 2 years soon that it was ago that I figured, oh wow, he's making all these profits. And I was told that a broker, which there was another person involved, would only have access to this account, just myself. So that's when the tables turned and I started digging into my resources, borrowing money from my 401k, and started to invest, and even sent some of the money back that was sent to me from that 100,000. So, and then there was always excuses, maybe the holidays or whenever we were going to get together. Like I've heard stories of some people being on an oil rig or always somewhere where they couldn't access banking or all these other things. But the other thing is, along with trinkets and gifts, I also received money from this person.
Mhm. So I want to back up to when you started to invest in cryptocurrency, because I think, like you said, crypto is not necessarily a new thing.
Mhm.
It certainly can be a legitimate means of investing. And I think for a lot of people that, like myself, I think of, I don't really know much about cryptocurrency, but if I found someone in my life that clearly had done their research, clearly were showing me that they were making profits and were using something that sounded reputable, like a broker that was really going to be handling this for me in a professional manner, that would entice me to
Right.
trust in what they were showing. Now, when you were investing your money, was he showing you, was there a way to see that you were in fact making money with these investments?
Absolutely. So, and again, like you said, the legitimate part was me purchasing Bitcoin and then transferring it to what they call an e-wallet. Now, once my money went to the e-wallet, which was false, my money was gone, unbeknownst to me. And I could log on to this website that was called Coin Cluster and see the profits that were, from my supposed investment. And they were large profits. Like one week it would be 13,000, another week it'd be 8,000. It was just racking up rapidly. And those, I was able to log on and see those. And I took screenshots. So I have a lot of screenshots of the supposed profit I was making.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad that you were able to do that. Could you withdraw real profits from your Bitcoin account, or did all withdrawals have to be transferred to this phony e-wallet?
Well, so I was looking into that. And then when I started saying, oh, it's a little peculiar, there was always an excuse of why I couldn't. Like the first time, it's like, oh, there's 90-day cycles. You have to wait 90 days to make a withdrawal. So it was things like that. You were deterred
Mhm.
from doing this because it's like, yeah, you figure, oh my, and it went to almost $2 million, supposedly
Yeah.
my profit. So yeah.
Now, you did mention that you've heard stories of a lot of people in this situation where their partner that they're speaking with online is in a remote location. Certainly here at AARP, we've heard a lot of those reports when it comes to romance scams. The person that you're talking to might be, a doctor, working overseas, they might be in
Yes.
the armed forces. And I think that kind of goes back to that $100,000 check you were talking about. Now, give us the story. What exactly was this $100,000 check allegedly? What did the scammer tell you that it was? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Right. So the scammer was supposedly in construction on a secure government contract. And he said that we were investing in our future and that 100,000 was going to be part of our future to invest. So seeing that the check cleared, I'm like, okay. So again, that's another level of the onion peeled back of trust that I believed him.
Well, again, most of the time, if you're dealing with a professional scammer, you think that they are in the business of taking money, not necessarily giving a legitimate $100,000 check to you. So that shows that their level of trust that you would do what they asked with the money is certainly telling.
Right. So, and even going forward with these profits, and I was 59 at the time. So, we talked about this party, 60th birthday party, which did go on. And it was to the point of $80,000 on a yacht. So when I think back, again, money was coming back to me like 16,000 at a time, but I think it was my own money because I was investing my money. So I went into other areas of my resources, sending it, investing it. But I guess to keep me attached, he would send things that I said I needed and money back to me. But in the large scheme of things, it was probably my own money or someone else that was being scammed at the time.
You said you were using your other resources to invest. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what that looked like?
Yeah, because I mean, part of my 403B, I had turned 49 and a half, home equity loan. So I know it probably sounds crazy that people wouldn't do it, but if you are trust someone and you're seeing all these profits and you're thinking, okay, that's nothing, that's going to be replenished at some point. So it's devastating.
Yeah, I think that that is a common thought process that, it seems like such a big sacrifice to make. But like you said, this happens over a long period of time and really incrementally. You don't just
Yeah,
wake up one
yeah,
morning and take money out of your financial investments just for the heck of it. And I think
right,
it's no different in a lot of cases to taking out a mortgage. You think,
right.
at some point that's going to be recouped when this seems legitimate.
And I forgot to mention, this person prayed with me every day, like morning and night. And I was like, well, are you sure you're not a pastor? But these are all those things that I don't know if they have a play board or whatever they do. But when someone is actually praying with you, that's again another thing to peel back, another layer of your emotions that is playing back.
Yeah. Now, how do you think the scammer found out things about you? You
Oh,
think that they knew ahead of time?
I think once he had my full name and maybe address, you can Google anybody. You can find out how much property they have, close to what their income could be. So all these different things. Nothing is sacred these days. And
Right.
I'm even more nervous now with AI. Whether you see them face to face, there's ways to be able to trick you. So again, my thing would be unless you know who you're talking to and you can identify and meet with them, do not proceed. And I know it's hard because, you and I have heard stories of people that found out they were scammed and were still so emotionally attached that they couldn't stop. But
Mhm.
thank God that didn't happen to me.
Yeah, I know this luckily was not your case, but in many scenarios, one of the goals of scammers is to isolate victims from their family members.
Mhm.
And that certainly can come into play when it's a matter of the heart. If you've found someone that you understand and that you want to be with, and your family feels a little bit skeptical about it, that can certainly cause a rift. And oftentimes that is helpful to the
Yeah.
scammer. I know luckily that wasn't the situation with you.
Right. But also again, to at the emotional part is he was supposedly a widower and had small children. And they even like from a different number, the kids were texting me. They were supposedly with the nanny. So when when you think back, it's just he was always a step ahead, always.
Yes. And really, your story is so, I've said it again, I've said it before, but it's so poignant to the point where his children were texting you. And I understand, I think he talked to your family at some point, and
Yes.
this was certainly
No,
not just a,
yep. And
texting and that's
yeah,
the end of it.
he
Yeah.
spoke to the party planner because again, sending money back to me. And, he had a conversation with her of how he wanted the party. Oh my God. It was, I mean, you can't even say ultimate betrayal, but it was so, so bad.
So let's go back to this party that you're talking about. You were approaching your 60th birthday, and I understand he wanted to help you plan a birthday party, and he was supposed to attend this birthday party, I
Yes.
believe, on a yacht. Tell me about that,
Oh,
and ultimately how that kind of was the unraveling, and what made you
right.
understand what was happening.
Right, because again, there was many excuses of why he couldn't come, but he was definitely, coming to reside in Connecticut and at this party with the boys and the nanny. He even sent a list of like 15 names, but when we look back, one was sort of looked like Michael Phelps and Phelps. We're like, like just craziness. But of course, I'm busy, I'm working, I'm planning, so you kind of get off your guard, when all these things are happening. So that party still happened, but 3 weeks before the party, I receive a call from the same local police department that I went to a year before with the check, telling me that they received an anonymous call from a gentleman with a thick Indian accent saying that I was being scammed and he felt sorry for me. So when I received that call from the detective, that's when I think my earth shattered and everything fell beneath me. Because there were little white flags, but at first I said no. And then I physically went to that police station the next day. And again, they just couldn't handle or really tell me what to do from that point. So I tried to call the FBI 3 times and I got no response. But I called and I want to say God sent Matt Hogan and Mike Grabowski, who are the only two state police detectives in Connecticut that work on these cases. And he called me back. And he'll probably tell you it was a little dramatic, but I had a suitcase with like 10,000 emails. I had gone to the Geek Squad and got 6 hours. It took them 6 hours to get all these text messages and everything, pictures off of my phone. And from that point, I felt like I was getting a little support.
Yeah.
So because I was becoming a senior, which I'm glad to say, the Department of Social Services reached out to me and they in turn had me reach out to AARP. I think I called the national line at first, but like I said, as far as God spends and why I have this scarf on is AARP has been so supportive, non-judgmental, and just helped me. And I have to say, I have my friends and family, they haven't judged me either. So that is a part of why I came forward. I don't want this, and I know it's still happening every day. People are embarrassed. I want to say I am a victim. I did nothing wrong. So I will continue, and I'm a fighter, and I'll continue to fight and tell my story because I know Connecticut has pockets of large income. And we know there's people that have been scammed and not reported it. So there's the one with the romance, and then there's the crypto. I got hit with both,
Mhm.
and I will continue to fight. So that's why I joined AARP and joined the fraud fighting network. And from there, there's like no stopping me. But so when I went to the state police, and like I said, Matt, they've been so helpful. We're working on some laws to help get more help for the state troopers and to be able to confiscate these wallets or virtual cryptocurrency if they know it's stolen. Because right now it's deregulated, nothing can happen. Yes, the amount I lost my whole 40 years of working in radiology, close to $1 million, it's gone. But I have my health and I still have a good job, and I'm going to help until I can't help anymore.
And we're so grateful, Jackie, to have you here with us in AARP. And I'm grateful that you're willing to share your story. I know it's not easy, but you are certainly a model for other victims to come forward and raise your voice to protect other people from this happening too. And I also want to highlight that suitcase that you talked about that you brought to Detective Hogan, which I'm familiar with Detective Hogan, and I think you probably made his day by having all of the so-called
Yeah.
receipts with you. But you did everything to the best of your abilities, right? You mentioned that you did reverse image searches. You tried to search this individual. You held on to receipts. You went to the police. And still, this was the result. So it just gives more claim to being as careful as possible, making sure that both the public and law enforcement are educated on this matter, and that we keep legislating to keep people
Right.
safe and to help law enforcement to do the investigations that they need to do.
Right. And I also wanted to say there's no particular type of person that the scammer goes after. And that's why for me, as an African American woman, which we don't really see coming forward, it could be anyone. And like I said, I thought I was a sharper tack in the box, but emotions, you can get anyone.
Absolutely. Now, do you know if the scammer was in the United States or foreign? And do you know if they have been caught?
That is a good question because, again, the detectives, the state police, Matt Hogan, again, we would be in touch. I'd call him and see what was happening. They only traced one of the wallets to Nigeria, and the case is still open.
And if somebody is a victim in the same scheme and still struggling, how do they move forward?
In the beginning, I did seek out counseling because I was so angry. And one of the things that I know that's important as working in the health field, I work at a cancer hospital, is you have to protect your health. So that's why it's important to talk to people because, I mean, there's people that have taken their own lives, or you could have a stroke or something like that. So you do have to release it. And like I said, I have such a great support, even from AARP or, just other organizations that want to help. Like I said, financially, it's a little bleak, but I'm moving forward, and I pray and I know that it won't always be this way, but it has been very difficult, and it was just dark for a little while.
Is there anything else that you might want to say to other victims out there that may be listening?
Don't be afraid. Don't be embarrassed. Once you tell someone, you're actually going to feel relieved. There may be one or two people that judge you and say it can't happen to them, but I've had so much support, and that's what's got my spirit to move forward. And AARP is a great support. So anything that I can do or I'm asked to do, I'm going to say yes. And just to reiterate, if you can't identify who it is, and as good as it sounds, and like I said, there was money involved and all kinds of things, just block them. And I know it's hard. They'll make you feel so good you're on top of the world, but really just don't do it.
Thank you. If you are a victim and you are watching this webinar, AARP does have free support groups so that you can talk with other people that have gone through what you're going through and have that support that Jackie is talking about. For this, visit www.aarp.org/fraud support. I want to thank Jackie Crenshaw so much for being here with us to share her story, and to all of you for listening. Remember, folks, it is information, awareness, and education that is our best defense to avoiding scams. If you suspect that you or someone you know might be a victim of a scam, call your local police or contact the AARP Fraud Watch helpline at 877-908-3360. Remember, if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. You can sign up for AARP's biweekly watchdog alerts at aarp.org/fraud watch network. For this and more virtual programs like our Webinar Wednesdays and Coffee and Tea with AARP, visit aarp.org /CT events. Thank you one more time so much to Jackie Crenshaw for joining us today, and to all of you as well. Take care.
Thank you for having me.